Let's begin. Number 1. The Unlucky Iron Foundry. Imagine a place where the air shimmers with heat, not from the sun but from a lake of molten iron. This isn't a scene from a fantasy movie. It's a typical day at an industrial foundry, a place where rivers of liquid metal, hotter than lava, are poured and shaped into the bones of our modern world. Now imagine a new guy on his 5th day on the job, standing at the precipice of this glowing orange abyss. His task, simple in theory: get a sample. He leans in, close enough to feel the radiant heat on his face, a heat so intense it could turn flesh to ash in a heartbeat. He successfully gets the sample and turns to leave, his first little victory on the job. But in a cruel twist of fate, he slips. It's one of those mundane, almost cartoonish slips, like on a slick patch of oil or a rogue piece of metal. But this isn't a cartoon. There's no slipping on a banana peel and landing in a pile of pillows. The man doesn't just fall, he falls backwards into the vat of molten iron, half in, half out. What happens next is something the human brain struggles to comprehend. The stories from witnesses describe a flash, a scream that's instantly silenced, and then nothing but the bubbling surface of the molten metal. He didn't just die, he was consumed. The inferno of 2600 degree Fahrenheit liquid metal absorbed him in a horrifyingly efficient way, turning a living, breathing person into a whisper of smoke. The worst part is what was left behind, a small, horrifying testament to his final moments that the coroner had to retrieve. In factories like these, safety isn't just a rule. It's the only thing standing between you and being turned into a ghost story. And in this case, the ghost story had a sequel, because just a year prior, another man met a similarly gruesome end at the exact same plant. One wrong step, one tiny slip-up, and your life isn't just over. It's unmade. Number 2, the cable guillotine. Picture this: a sawmill in the middle of Texas, the air thick with the smell of pine and the symphony of grinding machinery. 4 guys are wrestling with a jammed wood chipping machine. We've all been there, right? That frustrating moment when a piece of equipment just won't cooperate. But their solution isn't a gentle tap with a hammer or a quick reboot. They're using a massive, heavy-duty steel cable, wrapping it around the gears, trying to yank the thing free. They pull, they strain, they stretch the cable taut, each man a human anchor in a tug of war against a stubborn machine. It feels like forever, and then finally the machine gives. But it's not a gentle release. The tension that had been building in that cable, all that stored energy, releases like a bullet from a gun. The result is something out of a horror movie. The cable, now a steel whip with the force of a guillotine, snaps back across the work area. The men don't even have a second to react. It's not just a slap, it's a clean sweep. 3 of the 4 men were decapitated on the spot, just like that. Their bodies for a moment still standing, as if they were just thinking about what to do next. The 4th man, by some cruel twist of fate, was thrown to the side, his leg shattered, but his life spared. He was the lucky one, the only one left to tell the tale. When the first responders arrived, they found a scene that defied description. 4 headless bodies standing silent in a cloud of sawdust and the smell of fresh-cut wood. This wasn't an explosion or a fire. It was the physics of tension and release, turning a simple piece of equipment into an instrument of mass destruction. Number 3, the Russian lathe. Have you ever been so distracted by a minor problem that you completely miss the existential threat right in front of you? Imagine a massive horizontal lathe, a machine designed to chew through solid metal, spinning with an unstoppable hypnotic force. In a cavernous Russian factory, a worker stands mesmerized by this spinning beast. He's squinting, leaning in, his posture shifting from casual to intensely curious. He thinks he sees a problem with the machine itself, a strange wobble, a misaligned part. He goes to get tools, then comes back, his curiosity getting the best of him. After another long stare, he realizes his mistake. The machine is fine. What's wrong is a leak dripping from the ceiling, landing on the spinning cylinder. He breathes a sigh of relief. He solved the puzzle. He turns to leave, to get a bucket or a towel, completely satisfied with himself. And that's when his universe ends. In that brief moment of self-congratulation, he notices it. His sleeve, a loose flapping piece of fabric, has been caught by the rotating cylinder. There's no time to even gasp. The machine is mercilessly efficient. It grabs his sleeve and in a heartbeat yanks him in. His body is slammed between the spinning cylinder and the base of the machine, whipping around like a rag doll caught in a hurricane. First his shoes fly off, then in a spray of blood and tissue, parts of his body are ripped away, torn apart, and atomized. The camera footage, a silent, horrifying document, captures it all. Another worker enters the scene moments later, a man in full protective gear who is immediately confronted by the unspeakable aftermath. A room stained with blood, a machine still humming, and the pulverized remains of his colleague. The horrifying lesson? It's not always the big, obvious dangers that get you. Sometimes it's a tiny, forgotten piece of fabric that turns a giant metal-shredding machine into a human blender. Number 4, the Montreal roller. We often talk about the monotony of factory work, the endless repetition of tasks, the mind-numbing rhythm of the machines. But what if that rhythm, that predictable, unending churn, suddenly became a deadly trap? On a seemingly normal afternoon in a plastics recycling plant in Montreal, a 56-year-old employee faces a familiar problem. A piece of plastic has jammed the rollers. The solution is simple, right? Just climb a ladder and pull it out. No big deal. Just another part of the job. He reaches into the machine, his hand getting dangerously close to the point of no return. You can already see where this is going. The rollers, built to crush and shape plastic with unstoppable force, pinch his finger. He screams in pain, his body recoiling. But the rollers, like a predator with its prey, don't let go. First his finger is pulled in, then his hand, then his arm, and then his head. The machine sucks him into an entry space no wider than a clenched fist. His entire body, from his chest up, is forced into a space only 12 centimeters wide. Co-workers, hearing his screams, rush to hit the emergency stop button. But by the time the machine grinds to a halt, the man is already a broken, contorted mess. Here's the truly bizarre part. They manage to pull him out alive. Barely. His body is completely crushed and broken beyond repair, but his heart is still beating. He's rushed to the hospital in critical condition, a man who has literally been flattened. There's nothing the doctors can do. A body can only be turned into a pancake so many times before it just gives up. He succumbs to his injuries shortly after, a devastating reminder that the most basic of tasks can turn into a death sentence in the blink of an eye. Number 5, the water-fueled explosion. Now let's talk about the simple, almost magical ingredient that can turn a controlled inferno into a cataclysm: water. Imagine a foundry, a massive industrial church where molten iron is the congregation. Everything is going according to plan. The furnaces are roaring, the liquid metal is flowing at over 2,600 degrees, and the workers are moving with the practiced grace of people who know one false move means total oblivion. But here's the thing about foundries. You're dealing with immense, volatile energies. Any tiny, seemingly insignificant variable can be amplified into a full-scale apocalypse. In this specific horrifying case, that variable was water. The molten metal, a swirling orange vortex of pure, unadulterated heat, came into contact with a small amount of liquid. Maybe it was a leak, maybe it was a misplaced container, maybe it was just a few rogue drops that somehow found their way to the party. But water and molten metal do not mix, not like a nice fizzy soda. This is a violently physical reaction. The water, in an instant, flashes into steam. But this isn't just a puff of vapor, it's an expansion. A massive, explosive, almost instantaneous expansion. That tiny amount of liquid becomes a gas cloud that's thousands of times its original volume. The molten iron, with nowhere to go, is thrown into the air like a volcanic eruption. It sprays across the factory floor in a rain of liquid fire. Workers caught in the blast are instantly incinerated, their bodies vaporized before they even have time to register what's happening. One moment, you're standing there, sweating in the heat. The next, you're a silhouette on the wall, a footnote in a horrifying story about physics and bad luck. The blast can level a building, destroy equipment, and turn a productive workspace into a scene from a disaster movie, all because of a few ounces of the most common liquid on the planet. Number 6, the industrial shredder. Most people think of a paper shredder, right? The little machine on your desk that turns documents into confetti. Now, supersize that to something that can process entire cars. In an Indianapolis recycling plant, a worker was doing a job that's all about controlled demolition, feeding material into an enormous shredder. The machine, a beast of whirring blades and unstoppable gears, had jammed. And just like with the lathe or the rollers, the temptation is to fix it yourself, to get the line moving again. The worker, a 31-year-old maintenance man, climbed inside the machine to clear the blockage. What happens next is not entirely clear from the reports, but the end result is the same. The machine, which should have been turned off and locked out, powered back on. Maybe it was a mechanical fault, a sudden surge of electricity, or maybe, in a terrifying lapse of protocol, someone else turned it on. But the result was a scene of pure mechanical horror. The machine, designed to tear apart and grind down solid waste, did what it was designed to do, except this time, the waste was a human being. The body of the worker was found face down inside the machine, a final brutal testament to the dangers of working with industrial-grade tools of destruction. This wasn't a quick, merciful accident. This was an unmaking, a slow and terrible process of being torn to pieces by a machine that doesn't know the difference between a discarded fridge and a living person. Number 7, the silo suffocation. Let's turn from the instantaneous violence of machinery to something slower, quieter, but no less terrifying. Imagine a grain silo, a massive metal cylinder holding thousands of pounds of corn, wheat, or soy. These silos are a central part of our agricultural system, but they are also silent killers. A worker, usually a maintenance person, needs to go inside to break up a jam or clean the walls. You might think, it's just grain. What's the big deal? The big deal is that grain, when it settles, becomes a dense, heavy, and unforgiving mass. In a horrifying number of cases, a worker enters a silo and the grain shifts, creating a sudden, quicksand-like suction. In seconds, they can be pulled under the surface. Once submerged, the weight of the grain is crushing. It is like being buried alive in sand, except the sand is much heavier and less forgiving. The immense pressure on the body makes it impossible to breathe. Death comes not from being torn apart, but from slow, agonizing suffocation and compression. Even if a coworker sees the person disappear, the rescue is often impossible. The grain has to be painstakingly removed, and by the time they get to the body, it is always too late. It's a quiet, claustrophobic nightmare, a simple material from a farm field becoming a tomb. Number 8, the chemical tank. Finally, let's talk about the dangers you can't see, the ones that are invisible but just as deadly. In a factory in Mexico, a team of workers was tasked with cleaning out a large chemical tank. The tank had been used to hold a highly flammable and toxic liquid. The standard procedure is to completely drain, ventilate, and test the air inside before anyone enters. It's a simple rule, a life or death protocol. But sometimes, people get rushed, they cut corners, they think they can get the job done faster. A group of 3 men went in to clean the tank, but the tank hadn't been properly vented. The air inside was still filled with a poisonous gas from the residual chemicals. The first man to climb down the ladder, a 30-year-old, was immediately overcome by the fumes. He collapsed at the bottom of the tank, a motionless bundle on the floor. His two colleagues, seeing him fall, immediately followed, their instincts taking over to save their friend. But the moment they reached the bottom, they too were overcome. The toxic air, denser than normal air, had settled at the bottom of the tank, creating a lethal, unseen pool. All three men died within minutes, not from an explosion or a fall, but from the simple, silent act of breathing. It was a tragic chain reaction of human instinct, a desperate attempt to help that only resulted in more lives being lost. A silent killer that waited patiently in the dark. Your brain is weird, but hey, at least it tries. Subscribe for more self-awareness you didn't ask for.